It's 5 a.m. Welcome to one of the most dangerous small towns in America.
When I first heard that the report card grades were out, it became really emotional. And when I saw that elf and knowing that, man, how we failed these kids again. Knowing the work that we were putting in and the scholars, it was heartbreaking.
It's been 7 years of lack of improvement. So even though things are being put in place, I still have significant concerns. So I think we're going to be sitting back in this same place a year from now, making the decision that we probably could make today. I move that we deny the request for renewal.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny the renewal of the application. Ms. Newton?
I vote for the motion to deny.
I vote for the motion to deny.
Okay, we have 3 voting 4 to 2, so motion passes to deny the renewal.
Arkansas received historic amounts of rainfall, breaking records from over 70 years ago. Pine Bluff Lighthouse Academy's sister school, Capital City, was underwater literally. They had bigger problems than the flooding. They were also rated an F school.
Last year we had a disconnect as far as behavior, instruction.
Last year, when I was in 6th grade, we didn't have a stable teacher at all. The way that the teachers were teaching the lesson is more like they wasn't teaching, it was more that they were giving the answer.
It's madness. I mean, it was just chaos. I just have to be honest about it.
Last year was just devastating. At times, I just felt like I was going through the motions. Had a vision, had chart papers all over the wall in my middle hallway, but didn't know how to really execute it.
What were the noticeable signs that the schools were failing?
There were moments where I would walk into a classroom and see that the majority of kids were being asked to do work that wasn't inspiring or motivating to them, and they were tuning out. In terms of attendance was low in the spots that were really struggling. We even saw one school that had attendance as low as 80% in August of last year.
What did you try to turn things around?
We've tried all of the things. We overhauled the curriculum, made sure that we had a rigorous and Common Core state standard aligned program, had interim assessments that were going to measure that progress, coaching program where each teacher would have access to an individual coach that they would see multiple times over the course of the month. We've tried working on whole scale culture initiatives, including a shift from a no excuses approach to a restorative approach.
Did any of it work to improve the performance of the schools?
The impact of all of those initiatives was incremental. We'd see 2 or 3 percentage point gains over time, and we were seeing some progress, but the scale of that progress was more limited.
It sounds like you guys tried everything that most education leaders do. How did that make you guys feel?
It's frustrating. It makes me angry and also incredibly motivated because our kids are amazing people and they have a ton of potential.
I remember I heard a student singing down the hallway. It was completely quiet in the hallway and he was walking in the halls. Not sure what he was doing, but he was in the hallways and he was singing. His voice was amazing. And there in that moment, I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I don't think we know the talent that is truly in this building and inside of these scholars.
This begins the Lighthouse School's journey to embark on a school redesign process. They enlisted the help of renowned school designer Ted Fujimoto.
I'm Ted Fujimoto, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been designing and redesigning schools for the past 2 decades. When you go to failing schools, the people are working really hard, but they're working at the wrong things, and they're burnt out, and they've kind of lost that fire that brought them to education in the first place. The relationships on their teams are frayed so that they can't even execute basic things. I don't think that you can rely on a superhero to save an organization and make them world class. You might get some temporary bumps in performance, but when they leave, your teams are left even more vulnerable than before because having a superhero in the equation presumes that the teams are incapable of saving themselves or building that capacity. The magic is that if you build world-class capacity, you will get world-class results. To turn around a failing school, I believe that you have to start by rebuilding the fabric of all the relationships between the adults, between the kids, and between their families. So like with any winning sports team, a good team has to be able to trust each other. You have to communicate well. There's a culture of this trust and communication that enables them to execute well together. The most powerful, sustained change always comes from within.
That was quite an experience for me, a very transformative experience.
When I left, my brain was hurting because I was allowed to do a lot of thinking.
Early on in the process, I was pretty frustrated actually, because as an educator, it had been grilled into me that anytime you're engaging in a lesson, it should have a new objective and should be measurable by the end of that finite period of time, 50 minutes, whatever it may be. And this process is not like that. And it took me probably 3 sessions to understand that the process wasn't meant to be like that. It was meant to be iterative. It was meant to allow me to continue my thoughts that I had had from the prior session, but to go deeper and to allow that process to open some creative thinking for me.
The why are we doing what we're doing? And then actually moving into the acting on what we're doing. So it was so clear, so eye-opening, the I wonders, the ahas. It just opened up a new world for me because coming from the educational setting that I have come from, it was never like that. We were more so told what to do and just to get it done.
I was doing some of those things, telling teachers what to do, not allowing them to have voice, not allowing them to think.
But when you actually take the time to iterate, or we talk about what type of experiences do we need to actually understand what it is that someone is putting before us, I had never seen a process like this before.
What did you discover as a result of the process?
We've had a lot of ahas and pieces that have really fallen into place for us. I was trying to do school transformation by working with principals in separate buildings. And I started to understand that we're much smarter when we work together and we think through problems with a consistent language, with a consistent protocol, and as a team. And so we started to bring the team together to think through what do we want for the vision and direction of our schools in this region, and how can we make that possible. And through the process, it brought this cohesiveness of both the team and the vision of the team to life.
What protocols did you try first with your own school teams?
One of the protocols that we used at Capital City was the I Wonder, I Notice, AHA protocol. And you could tell that the staff really wasn't used to that. What do you mean you want us to wonder? Or it took time for them, and it's still taking time for them to get used to that protocol because they were so used to us saying, this is what we're going to do. And I want you to receive it instead of, this is what we want to do. This is what the process looks like. These are some things that I know we're going to have to go through, maybe research, we'll have to watch videos. What are your thoughts? We were talking about implementing houses at our school, something that will help to build relationships across grade levels. So we showed videos, we explained, we used references from other schools that are using houses. And when it was all said and done, I said, okay, from this, what are some things that you noticed? And it was kind of like crickets at first. And then teachers were able to really, once presented with everything, they were able and willing and ready to say, this is what I noticed. I wonder what type of time and space what we need to actually make this happen. I noticed that a lot of the teachers were really passionate. They were involved. I wonder what we need to boost our staff in that way.
What I think so many education reform efforts get wrong is they obsess so much about setting the goals, but they don't spend time and enough time in building team capacity to actually know how to execute toward those goals.
Me and my team really struggled with, we were just trying to get to the product, not really allowing us to really think deeper and taking other ideas. I think we were trying to take what someone else has already done and say, oh yeah, we could try this. So we had actually did attendance. We're gonna do an incentive for all of the scholars that actually have a certain amount of percentages of coming to school. But then we say, well, we're gonna give incentives, but now parents are not bringing their kids to school, so how is this scholar gonna ever get this incentive if the parent is not getting up to bring them to school? So it was just, that was like a goal. It was like, how are we gonna actually execute that?
And did you?
No, we did not.
What other challenges did you have going through the redesign process?
Some of the challenges that I've run into as we move forward with more of a design approach are that old habits really do die hard. And it is second nature for myself and most of my leaders to tell teachers or to tell principals what to do and how to do it and when to do it and what the bar of excellence is. And that oftentimes stifles creativity and actually slows the pace of progress. If you instead focus on helping leaders understand, be curious, embrace their own curiosity, figure out how to put the right pieces in place, they move much faster and they make change that's aligned with where you'd like to see the change go much faster. It's hard for us sometimes to remember to not do so much telling and focus instead on creating the right experiences, setting the right mindsets in place, and consistently creating the time and space to reflect.
Was there a breakthrough moment for you?
There was a moment where the light bulb went off. Instead of that, yes, we can do this. We just recently rolled out PCI code, which is called a Positive Communication Initiative. And I actually did professional development with my staff and brought in seeds and some soil. Talked about planting a seed. And I told them, I said, I just had an aha moment with a conversation. This is what we are. We are planting seeds. But with these seeds, we're expecting to see something grow tomorrow. But how do the flowers actually begin to grow? And we began to talk about nurturing. We began to talk about gotta have sunlight. to grow. You have to make some type of connection with your seeds. And the teachers were like, oh my God, I see where you're going with this, Mrs. Bryant. And now everybody has a cup in their rooms, and we're just gonna do a follow-up. How are your seeds? And I had one teacher to come to me, was so excited. Oh my God, I can see the roots beginning. And I was like, I can't wait to hear, how do you think that root is beginning to grow, to blossom?
Hello?
Hi, is this Yesenia?
Yes, sure.
Hi, good morning. This is Lee calling. We are going to be filming your sons today.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We'll see you at 7:15.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Great to meet you. Hi. Thanks for accommodating us. We really appreciate it. The parents that I did meet were very involved, very passionate about their child's education, passionate about seeing that the schools had improved so much, and really relished in that kind of solace for their kids, and knowing that their kids were at not just a safe place, but a place that is encouraging their kids to learn and open their minds. And these kids, they dream. They see outside of their box, and they want to grow, and they want to be bigger than where they are. And that's what builds communities. That's what moves the needle. It's these kids and these parents who are the foundation of communities that can make a change.
Have a great day.
The first day of school this year was totally different. Got the opportunity to meet scholars before school started, did an orientation, met new scholars instead of meeting new scholars on the first day of school. We ended up painting how would you like to be greeted by the front door this year, so that was new. And the scholars was like, Mrs. Bryant, oh, I can greet you like this? I was like, yes, this is our new way. This is how you want to be greeted. Scholars were excited, happy, smiling.
There's a completely different energy in our schools this year. To say that the difference in our schools is less than profound would be an error.
This year in the classrooms, I saw brightness. I saw cheerful. I saw meaningful things to be put up. Teachers came up with different ways for kids to be seated. They were thinking outside the box.
Yeah, the first day of school this year there was an energy that's totally different.
Okay.
Teachers were very engaged and willing and ready, and just, yeah, it was just an excitement that it's really hard to put words to.
They changed a lot actually. Last year I was like, oh my God, I gotta go to this school again and deal with all of these problems. But this year, I'm like, I get to go to school, finish another lesson, take another assessment, and pass.
The difference in the energy and the vibe of the kids is it's one of excitement now compared to one of I'm at school, I've got a battle, the teacher is the enemy, the principal, culture coordinator are out to get me, I'm in trouble, I did something wrong. And I'm showing up every day like, oh, what am I gonna do wrong today? How am I gonna get in trouble today? And so that energy has changed into, like Ms. Malenga said, I'm excited to be here. We have students 7:15 every morning waiting, not waiting with their head down, sad, discouraged, waiting, and when they see us, they say, good morning, good morning.
Too much. Taylor, all right, go. Oh, go. Violet. Okay. I love the countdown.
What, you got 100 today? Awesome.
My name is Quinn Hardy. I am the mother of Drayton Hardy, first grade, Dylan Hardy, kindergarten, Destiny and Dalen Davis, they are at CPA, seventh grade. I am a legal assistant for Hunter and Kalinka Attorney's Office. This year has just taken me off the ground. The teachers are in the hallways. They're hands-on with the children. It's, I love it.
The focus now is more on relationships, and I think that that's big. Because in any school setting, I think that relationships trump rules.
For me, I'm thinking culture. From the moment I came in up until now, you can tell that teachers are here, they want to teach, they're engaged, they're excited about teaching their lessons, and students are the same. They want to know, what are we doing today?
Our schools feel like a place where the potential of our children is on its way to being really tapped into in a way that we never were before. I had witnessed kids going through the motions, teachers going through the motions, leaders going through the motions, and now I'm seeing authentic joy, I'm seeing authentic connection, and I'm seeing authentic investment in the work. I watched middle school kids this year who a year or so ago would come to school, sometimes put their head on the desk, I don't want to engage, especially this early in the morning. I watched the same group of kids in a morning meeting, greeting each other, talking about some of the challenges that they faced and how they could support one another through them. Some very vulnerable things came out, and kids and teachers collaboratively were talking about, well, how can we make you comfortable so that you can really be your best self today.
I felt like kids last year came with a wall up. It's like, no matter what, I'm not going to let you into my space. And I don't see that this year. Like I said, I see there's a much better place that the kids are coming in. They want to share with us what's going on.
In sharing their fears, one of the scholars, who was very cheerful and friendly, said that his greatest fear was that his parents would stop breathing in the middle of the night. So he would wake up in the middle of the night and go to check on them to make sure that they were still breathing. And then he couldn't go back to sleep. He was up for the rest of the night.
I will say, at first, I had reservations. I didn't think that it could happen that fast because I'm thinking, again, they have a wall up. So I wasn't discouraged, but I said to myself, okay, it may take a little time, but let's get the effort started. And so just surprisingly to see the change so quick was something that was good for me personally.
I think the biggest difference would be student response. This year, they are open to the things we say, they're open to learning, they're open to being disciplined when necessary, and they're okay with it. And that's the biggest difference I see.
Day one, we started with healthy relationships. So what can we do to build these healthy relationships with these scholars? Is it greeting them when they get here in the morning? Is it standing outside with them for a little bit just to talk about what just happened and how we can have, different stages of where we can calm down, or just the different techniques we can do with them. Even last year, we had morning meeting on our schedule, but we never really knew I never really knew what morning meeting was. Well, this summer, I got trained on what morning meeting really is. So every morning, we're doing our greetings. Every morning, we're doing our share.
What are you noticing across these schools?
The leaders are really clear about what is the design that I'm trying to implement. They can speak fluently and cohesively about those pieces, and so can all of their staff, right? So there's a general understanding and buy-in on what we're trying to do. They're very focused. Because of that, when you come into the school, you can feel it right away. You can see evidence of, if they're working on something about school culture, you're greeted differently, the space feels differently, the way kids are interacting with each other, it feels very different. Other indicators, we've started to see dramatic influence on attendance. It doesn't really matter which design elements individual schools are putting into play, but when they're really clear and when their teams are fully invested and when the teams are continually being creative and innovative and refining their work towards that design, it's infectious and the kids feel it, and they feel very much so invested in the process. We have one school where a year ago in August, the attendance was about 80%. This year, the attendance was over 96%. In my 5 years at Lighthouse Academies, we've always had a goal of 95% or higher attendance across the network. We've never hit that metric before. We're hitting it now.
What do you see for the future?
Oh, I see greatness in the future. You know, I see an A+ ESSA rating.
We're going to raise and remove our F.
A thriving A school in the very near future.
Just more of the kids engaged and wanting to do more instead of us having to ask them. Them coming to us saying, I have an idea to help our school.
Community members coming into the school, working with the scholars, teaching them about different businesses, showing them a new world. I see a fully arts infusion, full arts program going throughout Capital City Lighthouse. So I'm excited about what's next.
Given the progress these schools have made, I have no doubt that both schools can sustain a level of world-class performance. We saw in each school all these practices that they've implemented, and the school redesign process didn't actually dictate what design elements they chose to implement. Instead, it helped their team think about their world differently so that they could come up with their priorities, what designs that they wanted to implement, how they wanted to implement, and how to coordinate so that they could actually execute. The journey for transformation for these schools and these school teams is not over. To sustain this change and this transformation, they must do three things. One is to maintain the polarity of leadership, where the energy is not coming from top down telling people what to do, but rather building intrinsic motivation so the motivation is coming from within. The second thing is they need to continue to use non-negotiable sacred time and space and use of protocols so that the relationships keep strengthening. The third thing is to avoid the trap of setting goal-based accountability and outcome-based accountability and shift that and maintain execution-based accountability. Only hold people accountable for things they control, not the goals, but for the things they've committed to execute.
I want to explore the galaxy. I hope I will become a scientist.
I'm happy and wealthy. I would love to be an entrepreneur.
I mostly dream about me dancing, like being on Dancing with the Stars.
Mr. Baldwin and I had an opportunity to go out and do a visit. I will just sum it up and say I was extremely impressed. Teaching and learning was taking place. Kids were engaged.
I will accept a motion on Capital City Lighthouse.